Hello friends, and this is our second lecture, and today we are going to discuss about the fundamentals, that is basic concepts. Okay, so totally 5 concepts are there. We are going to see. The first one is types of loads, then concept of stress and strain, then stress strain diagrams for ductile and brittle material, then types of stresses, and the last one is factor of safety. Let's see one by one. If we apply the external weight or burden on any body, it may cause some changes in that body. These changes may be change in direction or change in dimension or change in magnitude or etc. This external weight or burden on a body is called as a load. These are of 3 types: dead load, live load, or suddenly applied load. Let's see one by one. First one is dead load or steady load. A load is said to be a dead when it does not changes in magnitude or in direction. The best example of this load is weight of a slab on a column of our house. Second one is live load. A load is said to be live when it changes continuously. The example of live load is people walking on overhead bridge. This load is continuously changing, so we can say that the load is variable. Then third one is suddenly applied or shock load. If we apply load suddenly, it is referred as suddenly applied or shock load. The next point is concept of stress and strain. Stress and strain are physical properties of a material when it is put under a load. Let's define its 2 properties. The first one is stress. It is defined as internal resisting force per unit cross-sectional area. So mathematically, stress is equal to internal resisting force P divided by cross-sectional area A. Okay, this cross-sectional area word is very important here because the formula changes according to shape of body. Okay, if we have to calculate stress of a circular shape, we have to put it pi by 4 d square, where d is a diameter, and if you calculate rectangular shape, we have to take length into width. Okay, so be aware of it. Obviously unit is Newton per meter square or mega Pascal. Another term is strain. It is defined as change in length to the original length, or it is also defined as change in diameter to original diameter, or it is also defined as change in thickness to original thickness. And obviously strain is unitless quantity because similar quantity in a numerical and denominator get cancelled. It is denoted by Greek word epsilon. let me tell you an interesting fact about stress. You have heard about scalar quantity which required magnitude only. The example of scalar quantity is mass. You have also heard about vector quantity which require magnitude plus direction plus point of application. The example of vector quantity is force. Okay, if you know more examples of this scalar quantity and vector quantity, put it down into comment section box. But stress is neither scalar nor vector quantity. It's a tensor quantity. I repeat it, it's a tensor quantity which required magnitude plus direction plus point of application plus plane of application. This plane of application word is important here. I will explain you more about this tensor quantity with the help of this figure. Consider case 1 and case 2. In case 1, you can see here in XX plane we have applied a tensile force. In case 2, we have changed the plane of application. Okay, in case 2 we have changed the plane of application. So in case 1, the cross sectional area is differ from the case 2, and in previous slide we have formulated that stress is equal to force per unit cross sectional area. So obviously if you changing the cross sectional area in case 1 and case 2, the stress will be different in case 1 and case 2. Okay, so remember this point. Stress is tensor quantity. While solving the numericals, unit conversion is important. In SI unit, the stress is expressed in Pascal such that 1 Pascal is equal to 1 Newton per meter square. In actual practice, we use bigger unit of stress, that is megapascal or gigapascal, such that 1 megapascal equal to 1 into 10 to the power 6 Newton per meter square, which is equal to 1 Newton per mm square, or 1 gigapascal equal to 1 into 10 to the power 9 Newton per meter square, which is also equal to 1 kilonewton per mm square. So remember this. The next point is stress strain curve. The stress strain curve for material gives the relationship between stress and strain. It is obtained by gradually applying load on a test specimen. Consider a test specimen of a circular bar and apply a tensile force from both sides. This curve reveals many properties of a material such that Young's modulus, yield strength, and ultimate tensile strength. If you consider this test specimen of brittle material, you got this type of formation. Okay, it suddenly breaks while gradually applying the load. But if you consider this test specimen of mild steel, you will get this cup and cone type formation here. Okay, cup and cone type formation here. It is also called as neck formation. You can see in figure C, neck formation. Okay, so while performing this test, we got a different plot here. In x-axis we got strain and in y-axis we got stress. from O to a straight line which represents that stress is proportional to strain. It is thus obvious that Hooke's law holds good up to point A, which is called as elastic limit. Okay, up to point A, which is called as elastic limit, up to point A. When the material is stressed beyond this limit, that is from point A, the strain increases. The strain increases more quickly than the stress. Okay, so you can see here the deviation from A to B, as strain is increasing more than the stress. The point B and C are called as upper yield point. Point B to C is called as upper yield point and lower yield point respectively. Okay, point B upper yield point, point C lower yield point respectively. The stress corresponding to point D is called as ultimate stress. The stress corresponding to point D as ultimate stress. After that specimen has reached the ultimate stress, a neck is formation which decreases the cross-sectional area of specimen. Here you can see that it decreases the cross-sectional area of a specimen. A little consideration will show that the stress or load necessary to break away the specimen at point E is less than the ultimate stress. Okay, the stress necessary to break point D is less than the E, and this E point is called as breaking or rupture point. Okay, so this is all about stress and strain curve. This stress and strain curve is for mild steel. Okay, but for if you consider a brittle material, you can see the from point B it get suddenly rupture, it gets suddenly break. Okay, hope you are understanding this. In figure D, we can see that the difference between the stress strain curve between brittle and ductile material, the area under this curve is nothing but the absorbed energy by the material. Okay, so it is obvious that area under this brittle material curve is less, so brittle material possesses less energy than the ductile material. Here also you can see that the test specimen breaks suddenly in 90 degree, whereas in ductile material you can see the neck formation or cup and cone formation here. Okay, so remembering important point is the area under curve is nothing but the absorbed energy by the material. Let's go to the next point. The next point is factor of safety. It is defined as the ratio of ultimate stress to the working stress, and remember this, its value is always more than 1. Okay, so while designing any component we have to consider the factor of safety which must be more than 1. Another important property is endurance limit. While designing any component, we have to consider the endurance limit of that component. It is defined as the maximum value of the completely reverse bending stress which a polished standard specimen can withstand without failure for infinite number of cycles. I will explain you more with the help of this graph. Let us consider stress versus number of cycle. Okay, so if the stress is kept below a certain value as shown by dotted line, the material will not fail with whatever may be the number of cycle. Okay, if you put the stress above this dotted line, so material will not be fail during its running condition. This stress is represented by the dotted line, is known as endurance limit. Okay, that means in actual practice, while designing any component, if you consider the endurance limit of that component, it may ensure that the safety of that component. Now the last point is types of induced stresses. These are tensile stress, compressive stress, shear stress, bearing stress, crushing stress, resilience, torsion, bending stress, principal stress, and creep. Okay, this is your homework. Now what you have to do, you have to define all these terms and write it down onto a paper and put or upload it onto a Google Classroom before our next lecture. Okay, so thank you for today's learning.